What's up, you fucking nerds? It's MC Prophet. Nice to see you again. And welcome to a weird vlog type thing. I haven't done one of these in a really long time on this channel. And I was actually considering uploading this to the main channel as well, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I might upload a little announcement saying, hey, I'm going to start doing these kinds of things. And I'm gonna wait until I've actually done more than one of these vlogs, because I want to actually commit to doing this sort of thing fairly often. And the reason why I want to start doing these more informal, unscripted videos where I might have like a notepad document and that's it, and like no actual script or anything. There's a lot of games and subjects in general that I just want to talk about that I feel like I'm never going to get around to, or I just don't want to do a whole video series on it. A big problem with me, especially, is I'm sure that you've noticed, because I'm effectively juggling two video series right now. I'm working on the Final Fantasy X video series, you know, the symbolism stuff, and I already did a full two-part review on it without even talking about the symbolism, and I'm talking about Mass Effect, and I'm working on side projects, in addition to all that crap. So, I have a lot of stuff that I like to talk about, but I tend to take a very long time to do so. So, what I decided to do is, in order to get more of my thoughts and opinions and feedback out there, get some more recommendations for people, get some more review-type content out there, I wanted to start doing these kinds of things because, I don't know, it's just a nice way to mix things up. It's a nice way to get more content to you guys and talk to you guys more frequently. Like, I want to do these things, you know, maybe a couple times a week, every now and then. And, you know, this is a nice little way for me to kind of supplement streaming, which I've been trying to do twice a week, and I'm trying to upload once every 2 weeks or so, because I'm trying to get myself on a nice, consistent schedule. It's going to take me a little while to get there, because I'm still organizing myself and finding out, you know, how fast I am capable of working. And so, you know, this is my channel's weird puberty phase, where I'm trying to make this thing efficient, make this thing hopefully a little bit more popular and more consistent, and, you know, promote the Patreon enough to sustain myself and get some more consistent funding for the show. And this is a part of that. So, without any further ado, let's talk about today's actual subject. I hope that I remembered to put a little thing saying, hey, skip to this if you want to skip my bullshit. Because I got a lot of bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, bad lighting. But this is freaking Pokemon Sun. Let me explain why this is significant to me. Everyone is telling me that this is the Pokemon game that changed all the rules and fixed a lot of the problems that have always bothered me about this series. Because I've had a whirlwind, chaotic, overly emotional romance with the Pokemon franchise. There is literally no franchise in my personal history that has such a vice grip on the balls of my childhood. Like, if you want to know where all of MC's nostalgia is, 50% of it probably belongs to the Pokemon franchise exclusively. I'm not really, like, a huge nostalgia guy, personally. At least not when it comes to media. When it comes to just memories, yeah, but when it comes to fiction, not so much. This is also true for a lot of my opinions on the games that I grew up with, because I can look at something like Spyro the Dragon or Crash Bandicoot, games that I grew up absolutely loving and obsessing over. I dreamed up all kinds of adventures of Spyro the Dragon. I think that I might have made fan fiction of him, I don't know. I loved this little fucking guy. And I can acknowledge that his games are just kind of okay. They're not revolutionary. The early Crash games are honestly, I would argue, a little bit dated. Like, they're very simple, linear games. They're not bad, but, you know, they show their age a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I just grew up to be a really critical, cynical guy. What can I tell you? But Pokemon has always been this weird exception where, I'll play through Fire Red, and by God, it has problems, but I don't care. It's just so freaking fun. I love all the Pokemon in it. I love all the creatures. I love the creativity of their designs. There are exceptions, obviously. Um, it feels like such a basic bitch thing to say, but fuck Electrode, fuck Voltorb, fuck Electrode in particular, because he's just a worse version of the already kind of bad idea that was Voltorb. Like, they literally took the Pokeball Pokemon and made him look less like a Pokeball and look sillier. So, but yeah, and like the franchise is full of stuff like that. But that's absolutely not what my problem is with the franchise. My problem with the franchise, primarily both the anime and the game, which are the biggest parts of the franchise, it's just a series that never freaking changed. Like, some people say that the Zelda series is formulaic, and I guess that it is, but you want to talk about formulaic. Games 1 through 6 are like the same game. They're the same story, they're the same premise. They have Pokemon that fill similar roles in terms of both appearance and stats. There are Pikachu ripoffs in, I believe, every generation. I don't know if that's absolutely true. It might not be true for this because I know that there's an Alolan Raichu. I don't really know too much about this yet. I will get to this. But, I don't know. After playing Gen 6, that's when I kind of lost all hope for the franchise. And I know that a lot of people like Gen 6. Gen 6 is X and Y. And it just didn't do it for me. I forget exactly how far I got. I think I got, like, to the 5th gym or the 6th gym. And I just looked at what was happening and I just said, I'm ridiculously overpowered. I turned off EXP share like 2 gyms ago. I still feel like it just feels like my opponents are not leveling up anymore. Everything is brain dead. Everything is easy. I'm not invested in the story. I'm not invested in the world. The dialogue is incredibly unnatural and cringeworthy. I don't really like the music. I kind of liked a lot of the new Pokemon, but and maybe that's enough for a lot of people, but for me, it just wasn't enough. It's not enough to just have some cute new monsters. Like, I can get that anywhere. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. And I actually sold it. I don't own it, and I don't regret doing that. I kind of liked being, like, up to date with the Pokemon series because I lived on a campus that had a lot of gamers on it at the time, and I relished that experience of actually being able to trade and battle with people and interact with people in that way. But even that, like, the charm of that wore off really quickly for me. And just to give a little bit of history with this franchise and why I am very tentatively excited for this is because Pokemon, for me in particular, is this franchise where you make your own fun. Because the funnest part of Pokemon is assembling your own team and making your own memories and mythos for them. Because the Pokemon, they don't really have, like, set personalities. You don't interact with them. It's not like a complex pet simulator or anything. They're just numbers and pixels and now polygons. And there's not really much else to them. They're just like, here's a cute or clever or cool or threatening design, and you kind of assign personality traits to it. Or you look at the anime to see what kind of personality traits it has there. Or you look into the lore and things like that. That aspect of imagination is what really appealed to me as a kid, because, I would just imagine all these epic adventures with all these Pokemon, like wandering in the woods and encountering a Ninetales and following it to an ancient shrine and stuff like that. I was one of those kids. I loved doing that kind of stuff. I made my own Pokemon. it was just always something that really appealed to me. But I think that as I got older and I started to fill that void of creativity with just my own original content, like with these videos and with my own games and my own stories. I'm writing a fantasy novel series in addition to the game that I'm making, in addition to these videos I make. That creativity void has been filled, like it's literally my job. But I can tell stories in other ways now. But as I got older, what basically happened is I wanted to just experience a damn good story, a damn good game. And Pokemon was not delivering that. For me, Generation, it's a big problem with 5 and 6. I don't know about 4 because I never played it. But in 5 and 6, maybe this is a controversial opinion, I honest to God think that it is the least organic dialogue of any mainstream game I've ever played. And I'm sure that doesn't bother a lot of people, but you have to understand, I'm a writer, I'm a big dialogue guy, I'm a big character guy. Anyone who I have trusted enough to play test my game or pre-read my early drafts, they know I am huge into organic dialogue. I'm huge into making believable characters. Everyone and everything and every character, just their lives revolve around Pokemon and facilitating your journey through the world of Pokemon. Everyone is just an exposition fairy. Everyone is just, it's really fun to walk with your Pokemon. Isn't it great how Pokemon are Pokemon? Like this is the fucking quality of dialogue. And, and again, I know that people don't come to Pokemon for the story. I get it. They don't come for the writing, but Jesus, it's just so actively distracting to me, and I acknowledge that that's a pet peeve. I don't know if it's a localization, or this is just an overly direct translation, or it's just this inorganic in Japanese as well. But people don't talk like people don't act like people rarely have realistic motivations for what they do. A lot of the teams are just kind of evil and rubble-rousers for no reason, and they throw in hints of vague complexity, and it all just boils down to, nah, I'm just evil. I think that's why I like Team Rocket so much, because they have no pretense. They're assholes. They're just assholes. They killed Pokemon. That is well established that they have killed Pokemon. They probably killed people, but, that would probably be pretty hard to sell for an E-rated game, so I don't think they mention that. But they're fucking mafiosos. The leader is literally named Giovanni. Bada bing. Put him on the rocks. He's a ground-type trainer. It's a shitty joke. Don't know if you caught it. But I don't know, just everything about the writing, everything about the story, it's you can't completely ignore it. It's not like you can really skip the cutscenes or the text. You can rapidly push the button, but it's still there. Black and White, I don't know what the general consensus is on that, but I honestly think that is one of the dumbest stories I've ever seen. It's Jesus. It's like a B movie trying to be Shakespeare. I don't know how else to describe it. But that's a whole other rant. The storytelling of Black and White, I can boil down its problems to one simple statement. The enemy brings up a valid point that is actually irrefutable if you apply any logic to it whatsoever, any real-world logic. Which is interesting. That's why that game story was interesting at first. And then they go absolutely nowhere with it. Because the thing is, the question that Black and White asks is it ethical to capture and effectively exploit Pokemon and force them to fight? If you applied real-world logic to this equation, any, fragment of real-world reasoning to it, No, it's not ethical. That's a problem. Like, you're bringing up a realistic moral question as the basis of your game's story, and if you apply realism to the conversation, the villains are right, and you're fucking wrong, and you're an awful person. um, like, literally, it's all hand waved at the end because someone just says, like, Pokemon like it. Pit bulls fucking don't. That's my response to that. And it wouldn't be such a problem if they didn't, like, hammer it home, like, look at this morally ambiguous situation. Like, they don't do anything with it. They literally, like, present the situation of, the enemy has a valid point, and then the villain just kind of pops out and just like, I was evil and power hungry the whole time, and now the original moral question has been rendered irrelevant because the writers wrote themselves into a corner. Fight this overpowered dragon type and roll the credits. That's literally how that game ends. I'm sorry. That is absolutely how it ends. Ugh. But anyway, that's a whole other rant. X and Y kind of went the opposite direction and basically said, let's just barely have a story. Let's have, like, absolutely no motivation for the villain. The thing is, like, Pokemon it's always been about fight 8 gym leaders, raise a team that you care about, get to the end. And the rest of the fun is largely up to the player and what they like to prioritize. Because there's not much in the way of, like, meaningful side quests until the end of the game. It all comes down to, like, do you like to have trainer on, like, do you like to do, PvP? Do you like to do min-maxing? Do you like to do this or that? It's like this little sandbox that it isn't a very big one, but you can do a couple of things in it. It just so happens that most of those are locked until the end, and I don't necessarily agree with that method of game design, for RPGs, at least. I think that if you want your game to be consistently interesting, then you should have a solid linear story, and you should be able to stretch your legs every now and then, and do fun stuff along the main journey. You shouldn't just relegate all of the side content to the end, and, like, the rest of it is just, oops. What else? What else do I want to say? But yeah, I think that I've kind of made my point about my frustrations with the series. But the biggest part of it is probably just the fact that the series never really, to me, innovated in a meaningful way. It basically has, like, one big battle system shakeup in every generation. Like, I'm not sure, which is which, but in one generation, they made it so that some like abilities of whatever element are physical and some are special, so effectively magical. They, like, split that. They introduced, like, mega evolutions in 6, which just kind of immediately got swept under the rug. I thought that was kind of funny that they just immediately abandoned it, because it just made the metagame really stupid, because it's impossible to balance, and there was, like, no real cost to doing a mega evolution. And apparently Z moves are a lot more well balanced because you actually have to think about it. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's little things like that, and just the fact that every Pokemon game has always been very, 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 very easy to me. You can be, like, under-leveled and still beat the gym leaders really easily just with a type matchup. And in my experience, type matchup is just not a very complex mechanic. Type matchup in other RPGs is like one other little thing that you have to worry about on top of your strategy, on top of the enemy resistances, on top of the enemy's, like, massive skill pool, on top of the fact that you're fighting multiple enemies at once, on top of the fact that you have to think about your team's synergy and passive abilities and equipment and all this other stuff. This emphasis on, 90% of our complexity comes from just type matchups is like, okay, well, I'm gonna put out a guy that's resistant to electric because you're the electric gym leader. That's always been something that bothered me, and I'm told that even that was fixed. Like they don't have gym leaders in this. Like that's like what? I can't even understand that. But I'm excited about that, and that's why I'm going to document my thoughts as I play through this game. And I'm not even promising that I'm going to finish it, and I can almost promise you that I'm not going to finish it in one sitting, or at least not in one consistent go. But I will be vlogging my thoughts, because I want to like Pokemon again. I really do. Because I have a good history with this franchise, and I want it to be good again. I haven't used my 3DS in freaking forever. I think I know where it is right now. I also got this, which I'm not gonna play this for quite a while, because I know that once I start, I'm not gonna stop. And I need to focus on one project at a time right now. But this one glares even more. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. I didn't know about the subtitle, actually, because that kind of makes it sound like, I don't know, you're going against a female KKK member. But yeah, I don't need to explain why I'm excited to play this. If you don't know what this is, it's the Miyazaki RPG, or the Studio Ghibli RPG. It's beautiful. I'm really excited to play it. I finally got a PS3, so I can actually do that. So, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm not doing that anytime soon. You can think of that almost as an early birthday gift, honestly. Like, I'm probably not going to play it until after my birthday, which is at the end of August. But, yeah, that's about all I wanted to talk about. I really hope that this is good, because I want to stop fucking despising this franchise. I want to be able to take it seriously and actually get invested in the adventure again, because the series has such a great sense of adventure, and I still think it's good for kids, but I don't know. You guys know me. You know that I'm both a story junkie and a mechanics junkie, and if this game is just gonna try and survive on its charm alone and nothing else, then I don't know if that's gonna be enough. But it seems like it's gonna be better than that. Everyone's telling me that it has an actually decent story. Everyone's telling me that it switches up the gameplay. Z-type is really cool. I love the fact that they have Alolan forms of older Pokemon in addition to a nice, typical dosage of new Pokemon. I can guarantee you I'm going to get a Lycanroc. I don't even know if I'm saying the right name, because I know there's two forms of this guy, but this little wolf friend right here. I like dogs. I don't know if you've noticed, but I really like dogs. So that's like, I think that guy is literally the reason why I got this version, because I believe in Moon. He turns into a scary werewolf, and I don't want that. I want a cute husky. So that's another thing. This will let me if this lets me live out the fantasy that I can own a husky without having an allergy attack, then money well spent. Hopefully. I hope I don't hate this. But if you want to see more vlog-type stuff like this, let me know. I know that a lot of people liked the Final Fantasy 9 and 7 comparison. Oh, shit. I shouldn't have brought that up. Now everybody's going to be like, why didn't you continue that? So I will briefly mention that. The only reason why I stopped that series is because I realized that I might have to kind of reboot that series, because I have stronger opinions than I used to. Because I revisited both games since making that video, comparing Final Fantasy 9 and 7. I like 9 even more. Even though it's always been my favorite game, I actually like it more now than I ever have. And I dislike 7 a lot more. So I might have to revisit that, because I'm starting to think that it's sort of an unfair comparison. But yeah, I might talk about that more. As always, just let me know what kind of videos and topics you want me to cover, because with this, I can sit down for 25 minutes and just ramble about something. And if this is entertaining and it gets your thoughts out there, yeah. that's pretty much all I have to say. So I hope you enjoyed. The link to the Patreon is in the description if you want to support my bullshit. Patrons will never have to pay for these kinds of videos. These are a bonus, but if you want to support what I do in general, that's the place to do it. We're really close to an important goal. That goal is the 600 stretch goal. It's not a stretch goal. It's not a fucking Kickstarter. But the $600 goal is significant because it's basically... it's not quite move out money, but it's save up enough to move to a better place money. Because I can't work here anymore. But that's a pretty significant goal, and we're very close to that. So any support right now is super appreciated if it's consistent support, but as always, that's totally optional. I will always be making stupid videos, even if I end up living in a cardboard box. So I guess I'd just rather not live in a cardboard box.